Welcome back to the Professional and Personal Development series here at Cambridge Marketing College. If this is your first time here, then welcome. This is a personal and professional development series of webinars that's happening every fortnight. And we're taking you through a whole host of different topics, some for technical skills development and others for kind of things to think about in your own personal development as you hopefully reap the rewards of all the opportunities that are coming through in our careers right now. So the topic we are talking about today is the topic of event marketing. Now, you may well have heard the event management webinar that I did a few weeks back, where I described an event that I've been managing. Well, I managed for some 10 years and basically learned a huge amount about what not to do when you're managing events of all different shapes and sizes. I also learned a few things about what to do and actually what works. And from a marketing perspective, event marketing, those are some of the things that I want to share with you today. So what I'm looking to share with you is really a number of kind of things that I kind of experienced going through this particular event, as well as many others and other types of events that I've been privileged to kind of host, to set up, to market, and to run either for myself, the businesses I'm working with, or on behalf of others. So what I'm bringing into this particular session is very much an updated version, if you like, of some of the things that as marketers, as communicators, as business developers, as business owners, we need to be thinking about if we're going to be using the idea of an event to market a product or service. So I thought, as always, I should begin with a little bit of a definition as to really kind of setting the scene for what we're about here. So this was a really nice one I found from Hubspot. Event marketing is planning, organizing, and executing an event for the purpose of promoting a brand, a product, or service. Okay, so there's a nice kind of ring-fenced definition that actually explains to ourselves as much as to others what we're going to be covering. So this is about planning, it's about getting stakeholders aligned, it's about deciding where your target audience is, and then being laser focused and really prioritizing the messages to attend to that audience, to make them, hopefully to be committed to the thing that you're trying to do, which might be you're trying to attract somebody along to a conference. It might be that you're looking to launch a product, so you need some stakeholders along there to help you with the launch. It might be that you're simply looking to organize a team meeting, or maybe an annual conference for your business or your organization. So whatever we're talking about here, the general principles here in 2022 of effective event marketing are pretty consistent. Okay, so those are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to bring to, hopefully, to life for you some of the things that certainly I found looking after the marketing for a whole variety of different events over the years have actually worked and served me very well. A lot of this is not rocket science, okay? A lot of this is really obvious when you stop and think about it. But a lot of us, when we're starting to market events, we don't stop and think about it. And this is one of the key things that I'm going to be encouraging you to do, is to take that time up front to really kind of plan this stuff through so you can become super effective in everything that you try to achieve through your event marketing activities. So let me just give a little bit of a background story as to why I wouldn't say necessarily qualified to be talking about this subject, but certainly feel that I've kind of been there at the pointy end of the process, if you could call it that, and certainly learned very quickly from hosting what was, and I think still is, Europe's largest charity mountain biking event over a period of 24 hours. So this was literally a marathon event over the period of 24 hours. and basically encouraging riders, their support teams, sponsors, various other stakeholders from around the cycling industry to engage with an event that I built up over the period of about a decade. Okay, so it celebrated its 10th anniversary before being, gracefully retired to pastures and archives of history. So what did I learn from an event marketing perspective? Well, for me, there were three key things that I learned through running this event. Okay, the first thing was to absolutely ensure that you have a big, as I would describe it, a big hook. Okay, so this isn't what is going to happen at the event. This isn't the kind of the features of the event or the venue or anything like that. This is a big hook. This is the thing that people who eventually decide that, yeah, I'm going to sign up for this thing, actually start to talk about with their family and their friends and their colleagues. And so for me at the event, and I used this very, very successfully over the 2 years, which were the two biggest years, probably not uncoincidentally, of the event. And the first hook that I used was, hey, do you want to ride with a 3-time Olympian? Now, to a cyclist, the ability to ride with the very, very elite of the elites would be something that you really don't get a huge opportunity to do very, very often. And so this was something that I was very fortunate enough to have a friend of a friend, a contact of a contact, who put me in touch with Ollie Beckinsale, who is a 3-time Team GB Olympian, pro elite rider. And we managed to get Ollie along to the ride. We managed to get Ollie involved in the event, and he promoted it, and he was a really great advocate and supporter for a number of years. So do you want to ride with a 3-time Olympian? One of these kind of unique little hooks that really, really got the attention both of the media, but also the riders who were going to be the constituent parts of this event. And I also managed one year to actually be able to claim, do you want to ride with the single speed world champion? So we really upped the ante. We got the single speed world champion along to one of the events. And again, through a friend of a friend. So it's a little bit of a networking opportunity. And I've been fortunate enough to ride with Jeff Worlock quite a few times. And I knew that this was going to be a huge hook. And of course, it was. So this wasn't about the event. It was very much about who can I create here as maybe an influencer. We'll talk about influencers and event marketing. Maybe as somebody who is an advocate. Advocacy comes into event marketing. We'll talk about that as well. But just deciding when you have your event, small, medium, or large, what is my hook? What is that special little kind of moment that, it's just too good to miss, too good to offer up, too good to sort of say, oh, no, I'm a little bit busy, or, oh, I can't be bothered. If your hook is big enough and, motivating enough, this is going to be something that is going to ensure that your event marketing is successful. Second thing I learned from my Click24 event was to focus on the early bird. Now, we've all seen, when you go to conferences and events, work or leisure, you see, festivals and things like that. Often they will offer up the early bird discount. Now, to me, the early bird was an absolute godsend. It really was, because what it allowed me to do was to cover all of the costs of the event before the event. As an event organizer, the last thing you want to be doing is having sleepless nights over whether you've gone over budget, whether you're going to be able to hit things on time, whether you're going to be able to afford the promises or to deliver the promises that you're making. So by focusing on the early bird and having laser sharp focus, you can make sure that you have covered your costs way, way upstream. And so, of course, that's one thing on your checklist of event marketing that you don't have to worry about. Your return on investment is already in the bag. So that was a key thing for me, and just the way I structured the finances of this event, which used to cost tens of thousands of pounds to put on each year. I was able to cover those costs purely through the early bird process. So that's something I would say is really, really get passionate about early bird. And I'll talk a little bit about how you do the timing of the event marketing in just a moment. And also, I think probably the number 3 thing on my list of top 3 things for event marketing to focus on was to ensure a breathtakingly easy sign-up process for the attendees, for the delegates, and in my case here, for the riders, a breathtakingly easy sign-up. If there's any kind of call to action which is just a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit too onerous, you may well then find that your attendees or your delegates or your riders, in my case, become distracted, or they start to consider other alternatives, other options, or they just think, oh, I just can't be bothered. And they will probably never come back to it and consider it again. So making the sign-up process really, really simple, engaging, and I'll use the word immersive. We're going to talk about immersive experience when we come to the what's it like marketing at the event when it's actually happening. We'll come on to that. But I think certainly this immersive, but very, very straightforward to the point of a wow factor. At that point of sign up, it really sets the scene for what the attendees are going to be expecting from the event. And in lots of ways, as the event manager, gives you the opportunity to kind of really take the reins over this whole experience. So those are the 3 things I would really suggest at the outset that we continue to focus on. Getting a big hook, making sure you focus on the early bird, so getting the commitments of the people you want to attend as early as possible in the process, and then making the sign-up process to get them there as simple as you possibly can. Okay, so those were the key kind of 3 threads, if you like, that I found, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about those in a little bit more detail as we go through this. But why do events? Why events at all? You know, there's loads of other stuff that we can do. There's digital, there's social, there's promotions, there's campaigns, there's influencer marketing, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But it's really interesting when you actually look at some of the research and statistics. Event marketing is back with a vengeance. It really, really is. 52% of business owners claim that event marketing has the marketing channel that drives the most return on investment in their marketing commitments. That's over half of business owners, according to this research by Senpulse. That is an incredible number. This is a serious, serious channel for your communication. 47% of marketers, according to the same study, say that events are a highly efficient way to engage with customers and prospects. And of course, that's obvious, isn't it, really? So why aren't we doing more of them? You know, half of marketers say that this is a highly efficient way to engage with customers and prospects. So there must be something in here that is part of this relationship building that your customers and your targets are actually looking to get from you. So we'll use that knowledge, we'll use that kind of desire from the potential attendees in our event marketing mix in just a little while. 41% of business representatives, according to the same study, think that event marketing is a more effective channel than content and email marketing combined. Content marketing, email marketing, those bastions of effective campaigns. 41% of business representatives think that event marketing is even more effective. And of course, it is because you have that captive audience. You have that emotionally engaged opportunity to be building the relationships that are at the foundation of the kinds of sales and marketing that we want to be doing going forward, and building that long-term customer lifetime value with the people who are important to you and your organization. So actually, when we stop and think about it, it probably isn't any surprise. And interestingly, same study, overperforming companies spend 1.7 times the average marketing budget on live events. Overperforming companies. So the companies actually probably in your industry or in your sector or your competitors, the ones who are spending the more money are the ones who are actually already overperforming. So there is a big potential ROI here. So if you don't have events, and we'll explain the different types of events open to you, if you don't have events as part of your promotional mix, your marketing communications mix, you could well be missing a trick here in terms of the real, true measurable ROI that we're all obviously looking for right now. And companies that experience over 30% growth across a range of different industries have been increasing their event activity the most. So this is super fascinating because it implies, well, it shows as evidence that the more you do of this stuff, the more stuff you'll want to do. So if you've already done 1 or 2 events, you'll see the benefit. Those key performance indicators will be shouting at you, do more, do more. So now we've got to figure out how we can sort of factor this into our wider communication plans, because there absolutely clearly is some benefit to be had from this. Now, there's some interesting stuff. If we were doing this or having this conversation where I was presenting some of these ideas to you maybe 2-3 years ago, we probably wouldn't be spinning it in quite the same way, because we now have one of the biggest growth opportunities within event marketing that we've ever had. And that is the word, or using the word, hybrid. Okay, so StreamYard, one of the live video streaming platforms on the internet that you can use for live events, says from their surveys, 97% of respondents in a survey acknowledged that they expect to see more hybrid events moving forward. A hybrid event should facilitate two-way communication between the speakers and the attendees, wherever they're watching from. And the key is to make it engaging enough for both in-person and virtual attendees. So we are now seeing the opportunity to really rethink what we mean by event marketing. So whether we're launching a product, whether we're opening up a conference, whether we're doing a series of tutorials and masterclasses at an event, this is all about hybrid. Okay, so we're not necessarily just serving a captive audience in the room in that moment. We can think of this as a global opportunity. And when I say global, I mean that you could, if you're in a certain kind of organization, truly have it as global, but it could be global in the sense of your sector or your target audience. You can be as creative as you like with this concept of hybrid. There are so many opportunities, so many incredible technologies available to us as we begin to factor in event marketing into our mix of communications. So if you can think it, probably somebody is there with the technology to support it. So let's, from this point onwards, let's really start to kind of open our minds up to the opportunities that are there for us. So why is this kind of hybrid event thing a thing? Why is it kind of surfaced? Well, we know that it's surfaced as a result of the couple of years that we've had, those challenging years where we haven't necessarily been able to get face-to-face with customers and prospects. And a lot of the customers and prospects are saying, hey, I still want to stay in a relationship with you. I still want you to market to me. I still want to have that conversation, but I don't actually want to meet up with you face-to-face. And some say, I can't wait to be back. I want to get into the same room as you. So hybrid events are that lovely kind of mix, if you like, of something for everybody. They will increase the attendance at your event. So if you can create an event, person-to-person, face-to-face kind of event, but have a hybrid element to it, you can then increase the bandwidth. You can increase the number of people attending because there is no geographic border here. It gives you the opportunity to be flexible and scalable. So before, if you only had room in a particular venue for a certain number of people, well, now you're scalable. You can have literally hundreds participating. Now, I'm careful with the word here, not just watching on screen, but participating on screen. And we'll talk about the things that you need to be thinking about there if you do have a hybrid audience operating virtually, because you don't just leave them to watch the thing and everybody in the room's having the fun and they're just observers. This is all about proper blended events. Come back to that. It also gives you an opportunity for a broader pool of speakers. You might decide that you don't want to be, flying somebody over from the States to speak at your event, but actually what you want to do is you want to get them on the big screen. So again, not just thinking delegates and attendees, but thinking about the pool of speakers, the people who are going to run the workshops. Hybrid events allow you to tap into others who it either might not be cost effective to get or who simply are too far away to attract. And of course, as you grow this in this kind of way, the value to potential sponsors, if that is a thing, or partners is huge. You can imagine co-branded stuff on screen. You can imagine, sort of sponsored messages halfway through the event that everybody who's attending, either in person or virtually, gets to see. So there's a big value here to all the stakeholders involved if you can figure this out in a smart way. Because then suddenly we're making the event partially digital, it does allow us to track our key performance indicators, those crucial KPIs, and it does allow us to get some really great feedback and intelligence about, which sessions were most popular, which sessions got the most engagement, who watched when and for how long, because it's digital. So it gives us this opportunity to become super smart about how we measure and monitor what's going on, at the same time, potentially, as reducing the costs of the event. And of course, from a sustainability perspective, the digital footprint is far, far less carbon intensive than actually trying to get thousands of people into a room at a great big conference center. So if the sustainability thing is part of your plans at the moment, which it probably should be, and obviously for most of us it is, it's on our radar now, then this can be a very, very interesting way of scaling, but without losing the sentiment, if you like, of your sustainability credentials. So there's a lot of benefits in here if we can figure this thing out right. And all of this applies to all the different types of events that we're talking about. So when we talk about a hybrid event, we're talking about conferences and seminars, that kind of thing. But we can also be talking about VIP events, something you do for your most loyal customers or partners. You might decide you want to take ownership of some thought leadership, a topic that you really want to kind of own, and you want that hashtag and you want to own it forever, because strategically it's important you're positioned as the go-to organization. Well, hybrid is a perfect example of how you can get value for that. Product launches, group annual conferences, training events, some kind of hospitality thing going on, and even team meetings can all be done in this kind of hybrid sense. So I think it is time, I genuinely think it's time to rethink how we actually present and how we market the events that we're creating. Even if it is, and I use that team meetings one on the bottom of the list there, it can be a really interesting thing. Often if you have people who are in a business critical kind of operational role, so you can't actually get them to come along to the team meeting, we can't get them to come along to the annual event because, well, they've got to be there serving customers. How does that make them feel? But if they could be part of a hybrid event, so they're actually participating, they're actually present, but in a virtual sense, live, so they're actually there at the same time, but still being able to be flexible enough to serve customers. What kind of setting does that give to the organization? How culturally is that going to impact? I'd say nothing but positive. So there are some huge opportunities here, irrespective of the type of event you're talking about. So if this is very, very small scale that you're thinking about here as you listen to this, or very, very big because you're running great big shows and exhibitions, the same principles apply. That blending of the virtual audience with the face-to-face audience now is, in 2022, the way that we are going to be looking at effective event marketing. So let's think about some of the tactical ways then that we can kind of start taking this forward in a really kind of practical way. So how would you do this? So you decide you want to have a blended event or a hybrid event. And you've got a venue, you've got a little bit of technology. I'll come on to some of the good technologies right at the end of this. But so you assume you've got the technology to be able to deliver this. So you can stream live, you can have interaction. Now, how are you actually going to get people to sign on the dotted line and actually commit, irrespective of whether they're going to do it virtually or face-to-face? The first thing you need to focus on is a high converting landing page. So you need to make sure that the calls to action, whether you're in social media promoting it, or you're doing it face-to-face, or you're sending out printed invitations, however it is that you're doing it, everything needs to basically focus in at the point of conversion on a high converting landing page. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, we mean one that is, as I said earlier, breathtakingly simple to work through, that gives the right amount of data, but not too much, that actually inspires and invigorates the person signing up, and it potentially allows them to build their own itinerary at this event. Now, this is a really interesting one. We didn't used to do this in event marketing. It was very much, I'm the event organizer, I'll give you the agenda, come along to my event. Whereas now, and again, because we're really focusing here on this blended approach, these hybrid events, there's a huge opportunity to allow people to go into room number 3 at 10:30 and then room number 6 at 11:30. And actually, I might not want to go to room 6 at 11:30. Actually, I'd probably prefer to go to room 4 because of that speaker. Or actually, no, actually looking at it, room 5 looks really interesting because, yeah, I need that to do my job. So allowing people to kind of flex the agenda around their own desires is a really great way of getting that high conversion on your landing page. Another thing which is a little bit kind of carrot and stick and has been used very, very successfully in event marketing over the years is taking advantage of the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So if I don't sign up for your event, if I don't kind of sign on the dotted line, give you my email address, part with the cash, whatever it happens to be that I need to commit, are you giving me reasons to not want to miss out? Because if you're not, there's an opportunity here. You know, your peers is often a way is like, you know, your friends and your colleagues are going to be taking advantage of this special offer, or they're going to be learning something, the secrets of success in this particular topic. So the fear of missing out on that knowledge means that, you know, psychologically that, oh, actually, if I'm not there, does that mean I take a few steps back versus everyone else? Oh, yeah, that's a little bit awkward. I really should sign up. And then they start to use that word should. And that's fine from an event marketing perspective because you know you're going to give them great value. So think about fear of missing out. It's really quite interesting. And often kind of building on that, we've got the opportunity to think about user-generated content. I love UGC. UGC is all about advocacy. Can you, as you start to build the audience, so maybe you've got your early bird signups, you know, you've got a certain number of people already registered, you've covered your costs, everything's looking good, but you actually now want to scale it up. You want to put the afterburners on and you want to fill all of the seats. You want all of the workshops full. You want to get that engaged virtual audience. How can you do that? Well, obviously you've got the hook of the speakers or the influencers who happen to be, you know, presenting at your event, or you might be doing a thought leadership piece and you've got some really good people involved sharing new information and new intelligence on this topic. All of those things are going to be really good, but they're still all about you and the event. How about working on the premise of user-generated content, where it allows people to almost sort of share their view or their version of the event with their colleagues and peers. So kind of bring a friend along because the friend sees, wow, you've created a really good day there. Oh, I can see why you've, you know, worked that day up because, yeah, if you go to that session, but look, this session over here, actually, that's more me. So, yeah, we'll go to these same sessions together, but actually that session over there, I'm just going to do that one by myself and then we'll meet up after for a coffee. These are the kinds of conversations you want to be inspiring. So user-generated content where you give people hashtags, QR codes, things that they can really easily share to get others to come along with them. This is what we're doing to hook people in. And also even to the point of motivating merchandise. You know, merch is a big thing in the event space. We know that. We've been to music events, we've been to festivals, we've been to conferences professionally. Merchandise is still a big, big thing. It is great when you've got people in the room, that's fine. Here's the physical product or the freebie. What about your virtual audience? You can't leave them behind. They need to get an immersive experience as well. So thinking about either sending them something or they get a digital version. I don't know what that might be in your particular case, but merchandise is still a key component of effective event marketing. So let's start to plan something out. Some of those little hooks are the things that you might begin to think about, but I want to kind of put a bit of a plan together here. Now, this is my checklist. I'm going to give this to you in its raw format. Okay, so this is when I'm putting on any kind of event for a client or a customer, or I'm setting up something for myself, be it a little kind of mini summit or a little mini conference or whatever it happens to be. This is my checklist. So I have this that I've been using for many, many years, and it kind of works for me. So I just wanted to kind of share it with you. Now, I base it on the SOSTAC principle. If you're not aware of SOSTAC, go and search out SOSTAC on Google, SOSTAC, developed by Paul Smith. A lot of really useful templates on prsmith.org, which is Paul's website. And SOSTAC, for me, if you've listened to any of my other stuff, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of SOSTAC. So I'm just going to use SOSTAC here to explain to you how I very quickly and easily build a little event marketing plan, okay, for any event that I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm at the situation analysis, the first S. I'm thinking about, okay, so I'm in competition for attention here. So I'm going to do a little bit of research to see who else has got events, blended, probably, virtual, maybe, face-to-face, very likely, on this particular topic. So who else am I competing against? Because then that gives me the chance to get my USP. So this is when my hook goes, because I want to have something that just is that little bit of extra added value. And I want to engage in a broader situation context. I want to engage from feeling, not just thinking. It isn't exclusive of thinking. I want people to see, oh yes, look, there's my checklist of things I'm going to get on the day, but I want to get an emotion from them. I want them to feel, oh, I'm really looking forward to that day. Look, the agenda's great. The location is really straightforward and simple. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm getting. Wow, can't wait. So I want that kind of feeling and that emotion. So that in lots of ways is my kind of starting point for my event marketing plan. Then I set some objectives and they've got to be smart. So I'll put some key performance indicators in there. I will be very realistic. Okay, it is better to be realistic in an event sense, because I think probably anybody who's run any kind of event or even down to an individual webinar, you know you're going to probably get between a quarter and a third, maybe a half of the people, particularly if it's a free event, that number of people turning up. Okay, so you might get 1,000 people register. You're probably going to get maybe 250, maybe 300, up to about 400 people attend. If it's a paid for event, you generally will get a higher proportion. But set your smart objectives and goals in a very realistic way. And also make sure that the event itself supports your higher why. Why are you in business? Why do you have this product? Why do you have this service? The kind of essence of who you are as a brand. And I'll explain why brand is so crucial. It is about this event that we're putting together, but it's only partly about this event, because what this event is doing is it's showcasing us. It's showcasing our brand, our messages, the outcomes of engaging with us, the kind of relationships we have with the people who we work with. So it should, in lots of ways, support the higher why. The purpose of the organization needs to come through loud and clear. So it is no point in doing something that has a very different style or tone of voice in this particular event. You know, you might be doing that for a test purpose, but actually doing something that's really close to your heart and close to the way that you are as a brand is super important. So when I'm doing this for a client, I will be very much getting into the heads and hearts of the client, so I can really understand where you're coming from, guys. You know, I can put on any kind of event you want, but I want to really understand who you are and why you're in business and why you want to do this event for a longer term benefit of the relationships you have with your customers and your stakeholders, not just to get bums on seats in this particular event. You know, that's just part of it. I want to get to something a lot more powerful. And then what I'll do is I'll start to set out some objectives for the customer journey. So I'm bringing in some typical marketing techniques here, the customer journey. So I've got to create awareness. I've got to get the conversions from that awareness, and then I've got to keep the attendees happy en route to the event. So from this point, they sign up to actually attending in however they're going to attend, through the event itself, come on to that in a minute, and also after the event. A lot of event marketers and event managers forget the aftermath, and they just leave the person to then just drift off to another event at another point. That's like gold dust, that moment in time where the person has just left the event. You should be marketing to them, following it up, chasing up, you know, non-attendees, but very, very much serving those who do attend. And it's all based around calls to action. I want to be choreographing a journey through this event from the minute they're aware of it, all the way through to long after the event's passed, a series of calls to action. to ensure that this engagement and this relationship is fostered all the way through the whole process. So I'm getting quite planful at this stage, okay? This isn't just about, hey, we'll put some stuff out on social, see who comes. This is very much a planful process. And so then I'm thinking about the strategy. And this is the point. It isn't just this event. Yes, this event is really, really important because it'll be a test of, the messaging, a test of the products or services or the speakers or, anything else that we've decided. But it needs to build our vision. This one event might be part of a series, or it might be something we might want to do in the future. Therefore, it needs to strategically commit to the longer term vision that we have for using events. Okay, so this is really big picture stuff. This is actually the concept of being in an event environment with our customers for the longer term. So it is this event, but it's more than that. And of course, then the decision comes in, is this real world? Is it virtual or is it a hybrid? And no right or wrong there. It's just what is appropriate. But I'm certainly, as I'm suggesting to you, certainly sort of edging towards the hybrid event, because I think that is definitely the future. And the future is here right now. And strategically, sponsors, partners, exhibitors, speakers, who else outside of your close team or outside of you do you need to make this thing happen? So strategically, who would you like to have as sponsors? Who are the partners? You might be using an event management company, or you might be using, logistic companies for lighting and sound and staging and promotions. And, who are the partners here? And if you've got exhibitors, those are going to be really interesting. You've got the right exhibitors. Do you want to be marketing to and through them? And if you say, well, Neil, come on, I'm just doing this for a team building event. Well, yes, but could you, would you, should you be thinking about all of these elements, even for just a small team building event? The concepts are still the same. The choices are still there to you. Could you up the ante? Could this make it something a little bit special that everybody always remembers? Maybe. And of course, speakers comes into this loud and clear. Speakers, I'm using speakers in the broadest sense. It might be people who are going to stand on stage and give a speech, but it could be other supporters, other people who are contributing in their own way to your event based on what it is. And then comes the tactics on my list. So we've moved to T in SOST. We're on the T bit now. And then I'm going to be focusing on the early birds, fueling the desire, putting some teasers out there. This fear of missing out thing comes into play right here, right now. Deciding on the channels. So yeah, there'll be some social. There's probably use of the email databases, if there are some. I might be doing a little bit of influencer marketing, so I get some, some real influencers on side, probably micro influencers, more cost effective in my sector, and also deciding the messages, giving that kind of what's in it for me outcome for the attendees, so they kind of totally get the reason why they're going to commit their time, their valuable time to this. Tactically, I'm plotting out the agenda, or it's probably agendas, because what we're looking at here is this kind of idea of, can people shape their own itinerary? That would be really interesting if I could do that. And also thinking about the services, the venue, the accessibility, the timing. Do I make this the easiest kind of show or the easiest kind of event to attend? That is my goal. And so I'm going to be holding the hand of every attendee, could be virtually, but holding their hand literally through this whole process. So this is why I get super planful at this stage, because if you make it up as you go, or you think, oh no, well, I'll let the event manager deal with that, you've missed a trick, because all of these things add value to your event marketing. And then the action plan. What I always recommend, and I've always done this and it kind of works, is to always add 20% onto everything. Add 20% onto the time you think it's going to take. Add 20% onto the budget you think you're going to spend. Add 20% onto any expectation of commitment of things. 20% just seems to work. But at the very least, create a critical path timeline. In other words, when your event is. It's at a particular moment in time on a particular day. That is your target. But working backwards from that, what are the minimum things that you have to do? What is the timeline of those critical things? That's your critical path, such that if all those lovely could do things around the outside or the periphery of your plan, you don't really get time to do because you've added your 20% in, but it still wasn't enough time, or it still wasn't enough resource or budget, then at least you've got your critical path sorted. Okay, so it is very much about the critical things to make this event happen. These are your musts on your must, should, could list of priorities. The action plan also needs to look at marketing, maybe the whole kind of live and behind the scenes stuff. So people love to see the build up to events. We're all super curious. We want to be that fly on the wall. So within your event marketing, why not share that? You know, you're not going to be giving away trade secrets. Everybody knows how to kind of put on an event. It might not be a good event, but they know how to put something together. But why not do it your way? If people can see, oh, here's behind the scenes, oh, such and such a person is a speaker, they've just arrived. Look, they're being the meet and greet at the door, and in they come. And this is behind the scenes coverage that you can actually see through the app, through the virtual attendees list, or you can actually see it on the big screen in the actual event itself. People love to see behind the scenes. This is almost like VIP access. This is a great way of marketing at the event. And of course, you know, doing Reels short form video is the way to go here. User-generated content can also work. Hi guys, here I am at this event, having a great time. Look at this lovely merch that I've just picked up from the table over here, blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff helps to build the mystique and helps to build the desire to maybe, as an observer of that, come along next year. Oh, look, I'm missing out on this amazing day. Look what value this person's having. And of course, the thing that kind of binds all that together is your chosen hashtag. So in the action plan, I would definitely, as far as event marketing is concerned, have decided upon one or maybe two hashtags that are the hashtag for the event. Obviously, they've got to be very descriptive. They've got to be very easy to remember, but they're appearing everywhere. Yes, there could be QR codes, there could be other ways of blending the real world with the digital world here in your event marketing, but a hashtag is still the go-to in terms of reaching over into the social media space. Beyond the event as well, I've just talked briefly about, you know, taking the whole event beyond the event. The event doesn't finish for the attendee when they leave the room to get on the tube or get into their car. That is not when the event finishes. The event doesn't finish until some time after they've gone back to their normal lives, because you're going to follow up. You're going to follow them up with thank yous. You're going to follow them up maybe with, hey, would you like to join this Facebook group for an ongoing kind of conversation, building upon everything that you learned or everything that you saw at the event. Giving them reasons to engage way beyond the event is super, super important. Would you like to tell me your story about the event? What did you find? What did you enjoy? Would you like to complete this survey? And of course, things like on-demand recordings, which you can even charge for if they're that higher value, allow people to engage with the event long after everybody else would have thought it had finished. And of course, what does that do? It warms them up to be in this loop again for, hey, now I get preferential treatment. I get to become the early bird and actually be able to register for next year. Now, not wait till next year, but I can do it now because I'm still engaged with you. And of course, we all know what's better to engage and then actually get the call to action in for the next event or the next year. It's in that moment, before normal life kind of takes us on into different directions. And then the final little piece on and I said I'd keep this really rough and ready, but this is actually how I do this stuff. The final C is the control, which is the measures, evaluation, and knowing the next event in its kind of skeleton format before I do this event. So I would be already have committed to a date, already committed to a venue, a year ahead, or even longer, if that's appropriate for you. Whenever your next event is for this particular person who's attending, you've got to be able to get them to that event to sign up right here, right now for the next one. So you always have them in this kind of engaged loop. And what's not to like? You've evaluated all the stuff that they've enjoyed. You've stripped out the stuff that wasn't so valuable. You've checked it back against all your key performance indicators. You've listened to them and you've responded. Are they going to say yes the next time? Well, of course they are. We all would. If you're giving a great outcome, people will want more. And so this whole thing about kind of advocacy and engagement, it just goes from strength to strength with this kind of an approach. So yes, we want to build awareness. We need to get the word out there. Yes, we're going to encourage the conversion when they get on that landing page to sign up. But actually, during the event itself, this is the real thing when event marketing, is the make or break for a good event marketer. The not so good event marketers think it's all the stuff that's upstream, but the power of being in the moment, live polls and Q&As, breakouts, live chats, user-generated content from the event, people doing selfie videos, short form video that they're sharing to their peers in social right now, right in the moment. And it does encourage the whole networking thing. So that is what's going to be the breaker or the maker of your event, is the live in the moment stuff that goes on. And if you just let everybody get on with it, not a lot might happen. So you've got to be, as part of your planning, thinking about what is it out of that list of things in the moment that you'd like to happen. Now, of course, this is all about you as a marketer or as a business owner or as a salesperson kind of sat there planning this kind of in isolation, and you're sort of thinking, oh, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that. And oh yeah, Neil said we should be really thinking about hybrid, but not really sure where to start. The great news is there are some very, very good platforms and technologies that already exist to help us on our way. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of these three that I'm going to mention to you. I have no incentive to mention these. Others are available. And I kind of say it like that because that's really important. But the first one I would suggest as a seamless booking platform, we talked a little bit about having this high-performing converting landing page. Well, Eventbrite is the kind of the definitive one at the moment, I would suggest, in terms of the booking process. Super simple. If you have an account, it's great because it already knows who you are and all the details are pre-populated. If you don't have an account, it doesn't really matter because you can set one up very easily. And then the process of automated contacts and connections on the route into the event is all done for you. So there's a really, really lovely little platform there to control that part of your process. But of course, we have talked here about hybrid. A lot of the Eventbrite stuff is about getting people physically to a location. But what about if you want to be doing stuff where you want to be doing some live streaming, okay? Or you want to create an event platform or be working in an event platform to deliver a seamless virtual and real world experience at the same time, literally in sync. So for me, the live stream event platform that I would always have as my go-to is StreamYard. StreamYard.com. Absolutely love it. Quality is great in terms of the streaming sort of quality, high definition, very, very powerful platform, but very, very simple to use. So I always have that as my go-to. And Hopin.com for hybrid events. So if you're looking to do this kind of seamless blend between, one camera is pointed at the speaker in the room, but the other camera is pointed almost to my virtual audience, then Hopin is that lovely blended platform that will allow you to manage that and market through these platforms. Okay, so we're talking partly here about actually managing the event in the real time, but we're also talking about all three of these allow you to do follow-ups. They allow you to do on engagement in the live moment, and they allow you to kind of brand and basically get your branding colors and sponsorship, if there is any sponsorship involved here, get that loaded in advance. So a lot of the kind of the detail to make it look and feel and sound to the level you want it to can be accommodated in the settings which you preload. So Eventbrite, Hopin and StreamYard would be my three go-to recommendations if you want to be running and controlling event marketing in a kind of a hybrid real-world sense. These would be my three go-tos. So let's bring this all together because there's a lot of stuff I've kind of covered there. We haven't gone off into how do you market in social and all this kind of stuff. I've kept it very, very focused here on the nuts and bolts and the process of actually getting some thoughts down and starting to create a plan around your event marketing. So I'd like to sum this up in 5 key top tips. I would say number 1 is get an unmissable hook. The hook is so unmissable because the moment will be gone if I don't attend this event. That's the mindset and the feeling you want to convey to your potential audience. It's unmissable. So your hook has to be unique. It has to be there in the moment and super powerful. Number two, I would say, have a carefully choreographed sign up. Something like Eventbrite will already have a templated process that people will be going through. Is it appropriate, or do you want something different? Do you need a pre-landing page to get people to understand what's on offer? You decide. But the key here is the call to action, step by simple step. That's what we're after here in terms of a process. So choreograph that sign up and actually go through it a number of times yourself and get friends and family and colleagues to kind of go through this sign up process. And if you see anything that you can strip out because it's just unnecessary, data capture, information, messages, clicks, take it out. Okay, so it is all about having super simple and, as I said earlier, breathtakingly simple sign up. That's what's needed. Number three, I would say the top event marketing tip of all of this now as an opportunity is an immersive event experience. Gone are the days, thankfully, where everybody at the start of an event would say, oh, now if you can all switch off your phones, please, and listen to me because I'm talking on the stage. Those days are gone. It's, hey guys, everybody switch your phones on, put them on silent just to not disrupt everyone, but start talking, start sharing, take photos, do selfies, share the code on the screen on the presentation, that little QR code at the bottom of the this particular presentation slide. You know, do all this, do all this. It's all about immersing the person in the event experience, both in face-to-face, but also the virtual experience as well. So as much as you can actually give an identical experience, as far as you can, we will be able to once we've got metaverse, of course. But for now, what we're talking about is trying to blend the virtual and the real world event experience. So see how far you can push it. Point number 4 or 5, I would say, is wherever you can, think from the customer or the attendee's perspective of a life-changing outcome. So even if your event is not a big event, it's not breathtakingly exciting, you actually, if you're going to get the commitment of time from this other person, you need to give them something. I've really pushed on that phrase by saying it's a life-changing outcome. But this should be memorable. They need to remember this event forever. Even if it is just, yeah, that was a lovely location, or wow, they really engaged with this. I didn't lose, I didn't lose my train of thought at any point in the event. Or it could be, do you know, I've just reshaped my life as a result of coming to this particular event. Whatever level you want to push this to, it needs to really accommodate this whole idea of being supercharged memorable, but actually to the point of being life-changing. If somebody leaves your event as a result of something that you did, then your job is done. If they leave your event thinking, wow, I will always do that in a different way now, or I'm going to do that to my own events because that was just mind-blowing, it was so good, then your job is done. That's always a great key performance indicator. Did I change every attendee's life, memory, or experience for good? Even the smallest events can do that. And of course, then tip number 5, I've kind of hinted at this a few times, is the sign up for the immediate sign up for the next event. That's what you need to be doing. That's the really key thing here.